The Conservancy raises the opportunity for tourism and recreation. I can go anywhere. I was in North Dakota, and a woman said, well, we got some sustainable monies to put a bathroom in our little town in some place, North Dakota, and it was justified on the basis that it would bring tourism. You see, the tourism gig is being used everywhere, and the idea is at the same time to take people out of their cars. So how are the people from the Bay Area going to get up here to Amador County to enjoy the Sierra Conservancy tourism?
High-speed rail. Thank you.
I think you guys get it. You see, all these warm and fuzzy words to protect, conserve, and restore the region's physical, cultural, all this is designed to put a warm and fuzzy tone on what it is they intend to do to private property owners. The Sierra Nevada Conservancy is an extra-constitutional organization designed to implement the Wildlands Network, which necessarily involves the abolition of private property. The Conservancy will leave in its tracks several small, smart growth communities. People will be managed as livestock. In short, the Sierra Conservancy exists to advance the globalist goals to regionalize governance, to implement a step-by-step approach to the abolition of private property, to promote the relocation of people from wildlands and corridor areas to smart growth areas, and for the conscription of public-private partners, the mandatory volunteers of the new fifth column. Regionalism is the watchword. It is a core aspect of sustainable development. Regionalism might sound benign, but the consequences that come as a result of political regionalism must be understood by freedom-loving people, or liberty will be trampled. Regionalism is being used to destroy traditional boundaries and usher in a transformed system of governance that abolishes private property, the direct goal of sustainable development, Agenda 21. In the words of Charlotte Iserby, former Department of Education official, regionalism is communism. Regionalism is also fascism. It erases political boundaries and thus representative government. Regional governance cannot coexist with a republican form of government. The purpose of regionalism is to consolidate, again, collaborate, the global and regional effort to conspire against the idea of private property. They do this in part by advocating and establishing a system of partners who will cooperate with the new order. Often these people are present landowners. Of course, the partnership has one-way authority for most participants. The table will be shrunk once the collaboration consolidates. Such is the change or transformation that is taking place today. Now, one of the partners of the Sierra Nevada Conservancy is the Sierra Business Council. And the Sierra Business Council, we can see, is all about social fairness, works to redefine leadership, oh boy, to incorporate equity and respect in the public realm. Well, these are their programs. They're all Agenda 21 thrusts. Now, the Sierra Business Council wants to promote ordinances to use zoning codes to implement agricultural goals and policies. What about the farmers' goal and policy? No, they want zoning codes to tell the farmers how to farm. They want to create agricultural preserves, which means the farmer doesn't determine the use of his land. They determine now and forever the use of the land. That's what the preserve is for. They want to streamline subvention programs at local agencies. I mean, it goes on, create buffers and on and on. It's all about centralized control over land use in order to, as they said earlier, to redefine leadership and pursue what they've called in the prior slide social fairness. There is no concept of individuality, equal justice, or private property. Now, the Sierra Business Council is supporting California's cap and trade legislation. So we see that they are a California Business Alliance for a green economy. AB 32 will help small businesses save on energy costs. Turn those lights off. You'll save on your energy costs.
You save energy at $4 a gallon.
You walk. You see, the land use planning tools and reports, they suggest that you read the local land use planning and climate change policy book. We're talking about total centralized control. So much for the invasion at the local level relies on the man-made global warming fraud. The unraveling of this masquerade has not yet hit the local political scene. People across America need to realize the man-made global warming charade is being used to drive local policy in order to usher in globalism in transition from the American way. Now back to this local land use planning and climate change policy. This came from a focus group and interviews with local officials in the Intermountain West. And from all of that, a policy paper by a man named David Mertz and Curtis Below, courtesy of the Lincoln Institute of Land Use Policy, came out. Let's look at some of the key findings here for the local land use planning and climate change policy. They acknowledge that while climate change is not seen as a pressing issue, you know, when I was 7 years old, I knew the climate changed every day. And global warming, who's feeling warmer these days? I've lived in California for 50 years, and it isn't as hot as it was a few decades ago. So they got their science backward. I think they've got their results backward. Actually, I think they're putting the cart before the horse. They say that while it's not a pressing issue, the communities facing the challenges that relate to climate change. For example, many participants mentioned that managing water supplies, global warming policy, we need to manage our water supplies, reduce our energy consumption, turn the lights off, building more efficient transportation systems, get out of your car, and protecting open space, stealing the private property, were all issues seen as significant local challenges. Many commented that addressing climate change was more of a secondary benefit of pursuing good planning decisions. Well, including reducing vehicle miles, you know, it's the same old stuff, encouraging dense development, on and on, standard, sustainable development, smart growth, wildland language. You know, and here at the bottom, the most common way of framing these policies that impact climate change appears to be sustainability. National and international consensus on man-made climate change has dissipated. Copenhagen was a bust, and even the globalist U.S. Senate won't adopt cap and trade. So why are you being stuck with land use controls based upon this bogus issue? More on the Sierra Business Council. The Council represents a new approach. Our perspective is regional. Sierra Business Council is a member-based organization of over 700 individuals and businesses. This organization, which I can't read from here, certifies sustainable businesses. It certifies them. Okay? You're going to need, you're going to need a mark to be able to do business. You've got to be accepted by the globalist insiders that are operating in your community now. Orion, a grassroots networks member, so long as the group can demonstrate that it is a mission driven for social benefit, the group and its members are welcomed here. Vladimir Lenin never said it that clearly. And then we have more. This speech will be posted in the next few days, and these PowerPoints will be available to you if you want to research these and share them with your friends and neighbors. Here's a brochure from the Sierra Foothill Regional Smart Growth Conference. You can see that then Lieutenant Governor John Garamendi came to talk at this conference. Noted experts and professionals will lead participants to review the principles of smart growth and how they apply to our rural communities. Learn new approaches to planning for sustainable development. Discuss the opportunities, challenges, and new technologies for smart growth development, including form-based smart code. That means taking an international code and making it apply here has no relevance to the nature of the conditions you face. It drives your costs sky high. It pulls you out of the woods and into the city. Not in a single-family home, but on the 4th floor of some newly designed building. This was hosted by the Central Sierra Resource Conservation and Development Council, which is really nothing more than a citizen arm of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, who's the key player in this area of the country. In fact, this was also hosted by USDA and the Natural Resources Conservation Service and the Sierra Nevada Conservancy. These are the players that are bringing Agenda 21 to your town. This is a partial list of conference sponsors. Includes some usual suspects: Comcast, PG&E, the Sierra Business Council, the Sierra Nevada Alliance, and various Tuolumne organizations. Now, the program presenters at this Smart Growth Conference included these fellows. Steve Frisch is the Executive Director of the Sierra Business Council. He was going to talk on smart growth, relating the capital, the nature of the capital for smart growth, which is social, financial, and natural. Charles Field is Executive Director of the Amador County Transportation Commission, who will talk about a multi-county blueprint for integrating public transportation. Remember, you're to be out of your car. Patrick Lucy, a senior ecologist from Canada, who is collaborating with Governor Schwarzenegger's administration on California's watershed issues. Now remember, watersheds are the favored tool for regionalizing governance in accordance with mountain designs, not in accordance with electoral political boundaries. This is why regionalism is so dangerous, because Amador County has no say over what goes on in Amador County if you're just treated as a fraction of a watershed that's made up by 20 or 30 counties. You've lost your home rule when regionalism takes place.